Hello and welcome. Welcome to Everyone's an Expert. Everyone but me, that is. It's been a couple weeks. Been on the road and I'm back. Learned a lot of stuff. Had some crazy adventures. I don't want to spoil everything in the live format here because I am going to be editing some videos. I probably need to mute myself over here. Thank you, me. And yeah, just learned a lot of stuff. Had a lot of adventures. Some unexpected things. If you follow me on social media or have seen some of those posts, you know that we experienced 2 flat tires and 2 different rock chips in the windshield. And so the Model Y took a beating, but overall, it was a great adventure, about 4,500 miles. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head because having not done this in a few weeks and just getting back from the road, it took me a bit to get everything set up for the live stream again. But wanted to do this because it's been so long, and frankly, I need to spend the time working into this weekend to get the segments of that road trip video edited. So I figured for Wednesday's kind of a dead day as far as people uploading things, and figured I'd try today as a new kind of format. We've been doing it on Saturdays. Just kind of while I got the hang of it, it was an easy thing to just throw up on a Saturday and see what people thought, but it seems to be doing relatively well, and I appreciate everyone who joins in. If you have a comment or question about the road trip, feel free to ask it in the comments. I'll do my best to answer it off the top of my head. But I'm thinking about moving this permanently to Wednesdays or maybe even Tuesday nights if that works out better for people. But I feel like the middle of the week is kind of a dead zone for content coming out, and so it might be good it might get more eyes on it if I do it on a Wednesday. So still late at night because I want to do it when my daughter's in bed and the house isn't quite so noisy, and I can do a little more focusing on the camera. But all in all, a really exciting road trip. We left, 2 weeks ago today. We left in the afternoon, so we had a short afternoon hop up to Fargo. And then the next day we had an event planned in Bismarck and North Dakota, and had a flat tire issue, which if you've seen the teasers, you've seen some of that and some of my I cut out some of my expletives from that, but you have probably seen that already. But my brother was with us, and he is very car savvy, has been in some sticky situations with a lot of the vehicles he's owned and done a ton of car repair on his own and things. And he brought the tire pump and the patch kit that he got, or not a patch kit, it's a plug kit for the tires. So he was able to get us in the middle of North Dakota on the side of the freeway in a construction area. He was able to get us rolling again. So that got us back to Jamestown. And there's more I'll share in the actual videos. But so that second day, our plan was to do this EV event that they were holding in Bismarck, North Dakota. And it was at the state capitol, and the Tesla group was there. The North Dakota Tesla owners were there and giving rides around, and Brian Kopp was giving launch rides to everybody in the Raven Model S, which is still stupid fast. But there were a couple Mach-E's there. I think there was an ID4 there. and there were a couple bolts, and there was a new bolt EV, but not the EUV, I believe. There was a couple leafs, and then they had some other things like some electric tractor equipment, and so some cool stuff, some yard work kind of things, or yard tools as well that were electric. So really cool, but we didn't get there till about 10 minutes before it ended. We had planned to get there, about an hour, get into Bismarck about an hour before it started, have time for a car wash, really clean the car up. Instead, we pulled in at the end of the Blues Brothers when they finally get to the Cook County Assessor's office, and they park and the car just falls apart. It felt like that. Because we were just so rushed, and the car was in such, bugs all over, and, already we were starting some of the road trip mess. But got across North Dakota, had a great time the next morning with Destiny at the Dinosaur Museum in Dickinson. She gave us a great behind-the-scenes tour, a lot of great explanations. My daughter was having a little hard time paying attention to all of it, so I apologize to her for that, but it really was a great experience, and again, there's going to be more in video about that. So did that, hit Teddy Roosevelt National Park and saw some buffalo, then scooted across Montana. I guess I'm going to bring up the map here while I'm talking about this. And where am I? Here I am. So yeah, across then into Montana. Then we picked up my wife in Bozeman and drove up toward Glacier and had some adventures in Glacier. Some of it fantastic, some of it really, really cool scenery and things we got to see up there. But that's where we, on the second day up there, is when we lost our other tire in an area with absolutely no cell service. Again, we were able to safely pull off the road. My brother was able to plug the hole in this new tire now, and we were able to get to the next kind of scenery spot where there happened to be a ranger who told us that the nearest place that could probably patch a tire was Browning, which wasn't the way we had planned on going at all. So you see in this map where there are the kind of two lines that go up into Montana, that was the plan. Instead, we made more of a zigzag between those points because that night we had a hotel already paid for in Missoula. So we had to go to the east side of the mountains, and then after getting the tire patched, which is another great story that'll be in the videos, we had to drive then back over to Missoula rather than paying for that hotel we already reserved and getting a new one somewhere else. So, and then went back up to Shelby, Montana to visit the Well Done Foundation. And they, they're located almost near where we were the day before. So we did this crazy figure eight kind of driving pattern to get back where we needed. But had a good time catching up with them. Again, that's going to be another update video of what they've been up to. Things are progressing there, and more wells are getting capped. So that's excellent. Really nice. Curtis was out of town, but we talked to his wife Stacy, who's also a major part of the organization, and she was very hospitable, had us over for dinner, even though, again, my daughter was being a little rambunctious that night, but she was very kind and gracious, and the food was delicious. So excellent time there. We then went down to southern Montana for a night, and then drove through Yellowstone, down past the Grand Tetons, and then stayed kind of in the southwestern Wyoming. There's that little crook there in our route. We stayed there. I think it was Rock Springs, which turned out to have destination chargers, which I didn't know when I booked the hotel. So that was fantastic rather than having to go drive somewhere else to get. Keep trying to center myself here. Drive somewhere else to hit the superchargers and then come back. This was a breeze to just plug in. It was ready to roll, full charge the next morning. And we did actually full charge because that run from Rock Springs down to Craig, Colorado was we ended up making it just fine, but it is a long haul. So then went to Steamboat Springs on the suggestion of a friend on Twitter who was from Minnesota, now lives in western Colorado, and he suggested going to, I want to call it Fish Creek Falls, a great spot, a really easy hike to an overlook over the falls, and then some more aggressive hikes if you want to take them. And so we did the easy hike first, then went down, and then part of the way up on the more aggressive hikes until we kind of reached a point where it was smart for us to turn around. Again, when you're traveling with a child, you kind of have to make smart decisions that may not be as adventurous, but there's safety and just being a smart person out in the woods. You have to take some things into consideration. So we did that hike. That was great. And then both in Glacier National Park and Rocky Mountain National Park, they have restrictions on some of the places you can go within the park. And those are based on where you're entering and what time it is. And so I can't remember exactly the reasons for it, if it's all COVID based or if it's just too much traffic and it's still early in the year or what. I think each one kind of had a different description of why they had restrictions. But with Rocky Mountain National Park, what I had seen online is if you go into the park after 6, you don't need this extra pass, which was frankly almost impossible to get at that point. Again, more of this will be in the video, talking about some of the details here. But got into Rocky Mountain National Park, saw a moose. We had seen a bear and more buffalo in Yellowstone, black bear, and more buffalo in Yellowstone. Then in Rocky Mountain National Park, we saw several elk. I got some good photos of those, which I haven't had time to process yet, but got some good photos of elk. We saw moose, some big bull elk with some really nice antlers. So some cool stuff there. And went over the top pass. I can't remember what it's called, but the high pass over the mountains, to the highest spot you can go in the park, and really rainy and misty and very cold, and with the low air pressure up there, our tire pressure sensors were going off, so we're wondering, are we going to lose a third tire here? It turned out to be fine. We came down the mountain easy peasy and everything was good. But that was a long day, but a really cool day of going through the mountains there and got some hiking in. Then stayed in Fort Collins that next night, and then just hammered across Nebraska all the way up to Sioux City. That would have been Sunday. And then Monday just finished the trip from Sioux City up to the Twin Cities. Burnsville, just south of the Twin Cities. So, pretty fantastic trip. I'm going to have to alter this map quite a bit to show some of the places we really went, but the big strokes are all there, and so you can see the gist of the route. But gonna get that situated here. Yeah, so a great trip. I realized a couple things though that I wanted to share on here, and because of this channel, and electric cars are new, and there's still the perception that maybe they can't do all the stuff an ICE car can do. Hey Tyler, how's it going? Hope your back's doing better. Because of that perception, when I planned the trip, I was like, we got to go as many places and go as far as we can to really show you can go all these crazy places and have adventures in electric cars, especially Tesla with the supercharger network, with destination charging. There's a lot of options. So that was kind of in my mind as I planned it. And then about halfway through, I started getting the feeling of like, is this really proving anything? I mean, it is making the point that you can do this, but for a family vacation, hey Todd, for a family vacation, would it not have been better to plan longer stays at fewer locations? Like, did we really need to go all the way down through, past Yellowstone, past the Tetons, into Colorado, or was that just, it was really cool, but it was also a lot of driving for the sake of proving that we could. And I don't know that at this point of EV adoption, and at this point of, the people who watch my channel are already probably convinced that, you can do these kind of things. Is it really proving anything, or is it just adding a lot of extra miles to a vacation where, I've got my daughter with me. She's, 7.5, and is it just forcing her to sit in the car for a long time to prove a point to people who might not need that point proven anymore? But I'd be interested if anybody has any thoughts on that. I see there's a few more here. Oh wow, you're able to mow your grass. That's pretty good. I'm glad things are. Glad things are on the mend, even if it's not perfect yet. Way better is still better. So, like I was saying with the trip, it was really cool. I kind of like the challenge. My brother, by the end of it, he's like, all we're doing is driving. We aren't seeing things. We're just driving. And he was right. But, I love driving, and I love, driving in the Model Y and going to all these places as we can. I apologize. There's a fly in the room somewhere, and it keeps flying past, and I'm thinking that's probably super annoying. But maybe you aren't able to see that. But it's super annoying in here, I can tell you. Anyway, so just some things I'm thinking of as, as we were going past some of the places, and my attitude has always kind of been, even before driving electric, when you have the time, go out and see as much as you can. And take the time in each space to soak it up and enjoy it. People give Americans a lot of crap about, they get off the bus, they take their pictures, they get back on the bus and never really experience a place. And on this trip, I kind of feel like we were doing a little of that. more than I normally would have liked. I do like to move quickly and, see as much as you can, but there were a couple times where it would have been nice to just stay in town a little longer or stay in, on a trail a little longer or something. But also that gets to the point of traveling with a child and a child with special needs who has, still isn't potty trained. And so, there were some times when, we were just kind of limited by, oh, we need to go change a diaper right now, and we need to find a place to do that. And so that kind of stuff can kind of derail some of the plans. Also, between the two tires popping and taking the time to get that fixed, one of the cracks in the windshield had to be patched because it was so deep and starting to spider out. Making those stops meant we got to the Bismarck event later, meant we had less time for sightseeing on those days. The day that the second tire popped, that completely shot the rest of the day. Like, we were 2 miles from the thing we were driving to see, but then we were going to sightsee all the way back and take a really, nice leisurely pace the rest of the day. And we did end up seeing some cool things we weren't expecting because of the way we had to go after that. But, that was one of those days where it was going to be a leisurely, just hang out in and around Glacier and some of the different towns on our way down to Missoula. It was going to be a really chill, get out, let's hike, let's enjoy nature kind of day. And the day before that was that way. We went out on a canoe and kayak out on Lake McDonald and Glacier, and there were very few people out on the lake at the same time as us. Only like 1 or 2 boats had motors, and so you didn't hear any of that. And we actually ate lunch in the canoe and kayak out on the lake, and it was excellent. So we did have some of those times, but then as we were leaving there, my brother realized he lost his phone somewhere. So then that afternoon was kind of a scramble of revisiting the places we had been, checking trails and different places in the rocks and things like that where it possibly could have been. We never did find it, but, then it was, in the evenings, well, we got to, go online and try to find stuff and what's the lost and found info for the national parks. And, it's nobody's fault. That kind of stuff just happens. But, when you're dealing with those kind of things, when you're dealing with the tire stuff, when you're dealing with the rock chip stuff, your relaxing days get eaten up by more stressful things. And so I would have liked to have been able to enjoy some more of those kind of things. And it turned out that our days, we still had to make our days to, hotels I had prepaid for and everything. So some of those long days were on the heels of other stressful days. And, it was the 13th day, really like 12 full days of traveling, but the 13th day when we got home. And it's really the first vacation I can remember where I got home and went, yeah, I've had enough of that one. And that was very little to do with the car. It was more like how much we tried to cram in, and, being with people in close quarters for that much time, even people you love, you just need a little break. So, but it was great. The car itself behaved wonderfully. I might have a shot of what popped the tire the first time. I have some potential screenshots I took that I'm going to need to look over. The second time, when we got to the tire place, they said we were their 17th tire of the day. So I don't know. One person was talking about how they make their gravel on the roads differently there, and when they pulverize the rock, pieces are really sharp. And so that could have been it. There was also a lot of road construction. Also, we're in an area with a lot of campers, so it could have been somebody left a part of a bungee cord, or something could have been on the road that we didn't see and tore into the tire. I don't know, but yeah, some unexpected drama. But really, the car going into it. In fact, I think my intro on the day we left was, I don't know how the charging's going to be. Really, the charging was super easy. There was only one time where we kind of had to make some different accommodations about the charging, and that was because of the flat tire in Glacier. And it sent us on a completely different path than we had planned. And so I wasn't feeling confident, and at that point of the day, I wasn't feeling good about trying to get back to the west side of the mountain range on half a battery, because it would be a lot of going up an elevation. And then once we got there back to our hotel we had stayed at, it would have been level 2 charging. And so we would have gotten back there much later in the day, still needed to get down to Missoula, and would have been kind of a mess. So at that point I was like, all right, we're going south from here to Great Falls, and then we'll cut over. And that did work out. But, with the tire and, going a different route, I thought, let's not add another potential point of failure to this day. Let's be as smart as we can. It was pretty interesting. When I have the visuals and all this stuff, it'll make a lot more sense on why we decided to do some of the things we did. But all in all, I think things worked out really, really well. Both times when we had flats, we were able to pull off safely out of the way of traffic and tend to it. It was stressful, but like I said, my brother did an amazing job of getting those plugs in, and they did their job. We held pressure, got to a safe place that could take care of our issues. So again, that was all good. I missed a couple of chats here. The tire popping rocks was I don't know how they make or mine or whatever gravel here, but they were talking about how when they redo the gravel roads there, it's all pulverized rock. And I don't know if that's the way they do it everywhere, but our rock is sandstone, so it's not as sharp, and whatever kind of rock they have, I'm not sure, but obviously those mountains are made of something different than the rock we have in Minnesota. So I don't know if it just takes being ground down by a lot of truck traffic first before it's not that sharp or what. But the gal at the tire place is like, she knew exactly what had happened, right when we got there. Interesting place. It was the town of Browning on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation, and everybody was really, really nice. No one there had seen a Tesla in person before, so there were a lot of interesting conversations. Most people were pretty curious and friendly. Some people giving me a little crap about it, but it was all good, and they were really friendly and very, very helpful. Yeah, I don't know about the spare. I was thinking that too. After the second time, I'm like, that's it. I'm just buying a spare and keeping it in the car. But then I was thinking about how I never had tire issues in the S. And, people always say with the Tesla, keep your, for efficiency's sake, keep your tire pressure right at or above the max, pressure on your tires. And my brother's going, don't put it up that high. Don't put it up that high. We're not on the pavement, and if you hit a bump, you're going to blow something. And so, even after the first time, I did have the tires a little high, not over the max, but pretty close to the max. And we were on a lot of gravel the day before we got that second pop, so that could have been it, or like I said, we could have hit something on the road. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure where Carlton is. I'm just seeing your chat here, Tyler, but Bemidji's awesome. I hope those are going up soon. The supercharger network is so good, and the peace of mind, I tell you, after we had that second tire issue, and I kind of babied it all the way down to Great Falls from Browning, and when we pulled into the supercharger at Great Falls, I'm like, everything's going to be okay. We're at a supercharger. This is going to work, and it's going to get us to Missoula, which also has a supercharger. When we were in Browning at the tire place, they were really kind. Let me plug in to the 120 outlet they had outside, and we tried to get into their 220, but they had the wrong connector type. So, like I said, they were super friendly, and although a couple people were giving me crap, they were also really interested in, like, well, where's the engine? How do the batteries sit in there? And does it have a gas engine too, or how do all that? Like, I don't know how that would work in the winter. And I'm like, well, works in Minnesota in the winter, but they have different drifts and different things there too. But I said, there's electric pickup trucks coming out, and they'll be getting over 500 miles of range soon, and look up the Cybertruck, and so it was, considering the situation, it was fun, talking Tesla to people who had never seen one before. Not a great look to come in that shape, but at least it was an every car issue, not a electric car issue that we were asking them to solve. Yeah, I generally keep my tires pretty full now, before too, and I don't know if I'd do that now, but it could have just been flukes. Like I said, I never had problems with the S, but I think those always had relatively expensive tires. But the first one that blew was the original Tesla tires that were on there. Whatever, I don't know if they were Continental maybe, but and I don't know if those are good quality or not, but I would assume Tesla puts decent tires on their cars. It's about 30 miles south of Duluth. Oh, at the Black Bear. Okay, yeah, I have seen those. Hey, Jason. Welcome. Yeah, I had seen those going in Black Bear. Is Bemidji under construction too? I thought Grand Forks, I thought I heard maybe on the North Dakota group that Grand Forks was either permitted or equipment had started showing up. I'm not sure. I got to check on that. But yeah, that's exciting. If that gets done and then Watertown gets done, that will be huge. And then, obviously I'd like Mankato too for selfish reasons, because I grew up in Le Sueur, which is near Mankato, and so I want that kind of triangle between 94 and 90 to have a charger right in the middle so people can actually get around in that part of the state. Oh, great. Yeah, I think they're really ramping up supercharger production. So hopefully that's going to be rolling out soon. 23 days ago for Grand Forks, 8 for Bemidji. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, getting all that. What I think Grand Marais got, it's not Tesla chargers, but I think they got a DC fast charger installed. I don't know if it's up and running yet. So you wouldn't necessarily need to charge at the campground. I know the last time we were up there, not last year, but the year before, there were a lot of Teslas in and around Grand Marais, and I know a lot of people in the group like to go up there. So, yeah, more charging up there would be great too. Granite Falls, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I heard about the Plaid fire. I've seen some photos of it and the statement. I think that was from the fire department that put it out. Um, yeah, it's terrible. Obviously we don't really know any details about it. I saw something about like the person that called in was a neighbor who said it was rolling down the road before it stopped in front of their house and exploded. I'm like, okay, that's pretty interesting. A bit of detail there. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's I hate to say I hope it's arson, but I really kind of do, that someone's just trying to make Tesla look bad and it isn't a function of a new battery pack or but given the speed of those vehicles and maybe people being new to driving that much power, which I think anybody would be new to driving something with that much power, I can easily see how someone might hop a curb or run something over that could maybe puncture or damage the pack beforehand, and maybe the person calling in wouldn't have seen that. It sounded like there was nobody injured, so that's good. So maybe someone did something like that and then bailed out and just let it burn. I mean, that's still awful. It shouldn't happen, and I hope, like I said, I almost hope it's arson or somebody doing something so egregious that it isn't just a spontaneous, problem with the new vehicles. That'd be pretty tragic, but we'll see. I'm sure they did their due diligence on, testing and everything. So we'll have to see if more details come out about it, either from, I don't know if the fire department would be able to provide anything more on that, or if Tesla would make any statement. I can see it being asked about on the earnings call, which will probably be toward the middle or end of next month. I would think somebody's going to, I'm assuming it's going to be a big story and a lot of people are going to be talking about it. I would imagine the stock will probably tank tomorrow. Whether it's a real problem or not, I would expect that to happen, and I would expect people to be asking about it on the earnings call. If Tesla doesn't make a formal statement beforehand, and that's the issues with not having a PR department to kind of put something out right away, because the stuff just doesn't, as much as they might like it to fly under the radar, it's not going to. And everybody likes, anytime Tesla trips up at anything, people love to pile on. So I don't know. I was hoping it wasn't really a plaid, but it seems like it probably was. Although I don't know how that was determined, because I can't imagine the fire department would know the difference. So unless the owner said something, or somehow someone knows what VIN it was, I'm not sure. Maybe there are some physical features that you guys have seen that that indicates that it's plaid, but I don't know that I know the difference from looking at the photos. Just trying to catch up on the chat here. Okay, those are going under construction. Yeah, Ellie and I were going to, before COVID hit last year, Trevor, whose sister just passed away, so I feel terrible for him. Trevor from Tesla Owners Online and Ian Pavelko did their run across the Canada line, and that was such a cool road trip, cool thing for them to do. And before COVID hit, my wife and I were planning to go see a concert in Vancouver, like a weekend festival kind of thing. I can't remember what exactly the deal was, but she wanted to go to that, and I'm like, well, cool. We'll go up through Grand Marais, up to the Canada line of superchargers, and we're going to buzz through Canada. And that'll be our big road trip for the year, and it would just be her and I, and that was going to be, last fall. We were going to go do that. Obviously, that got shut down, and the borders shut down. I think it's still shut down for the most part. So that might be a next year thing. But yeah, that would be a fantastic drive. I'd really love to do. Is that 50 kilowatt unit? Okay. Cool. And the visitor center's in a good spot in Grand Marais for easily walking down to the harbor, out to Artist Point, out to the lighthouse, all of that. I love that place. Yeah, it didn't look mangled. At least, the front end didn't, so. Yeah, it could be Tesla shorties. I don't know. The stock will probably be on sale tomorrow. Yeah, I wonder why. I saw that Minnesota had one, and I thought, either someone's reserved that or they're sending it out for test drives, but I would think they'd want to get it into the owner's hands right away. Do you know if anybody picked that up? Oh, based on the rims. Okay. Okay. Hey, John. The trip went mostly good. If you've seen the teasers, you'll know we had some tire issues and some rock chip issues. Altered the route a little bit, but all in all, a pretty good trip. I don't think I saw your Facebook message, so sorry about that. I will try to check it afterward. Oh, it was sold to Detroit's friend. Okay. So, that's good. Hopefully, I think that was out east, so hopefully it's safe and another good sale for the end of Q2. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't sell it to you. Or was it the wrong color? They're just keeping him waiting. Don't want him taking it out onto the drag strip quite yet. I saw somebody in I think it was Wisconsin that did the drag strip, and then they did one run and then were booted out because they were going too fast. So that might be all people get out of the plaid, but I would think it would be worth it to set that kind of time. Yeah. I thought you posted something about the color or something, and I wasn't sure if that was a joke or not. Oh, okay, John. Cool. Um, yeah, it's going to be bonkers to see those out, and when they're up doing drags or the autocross, I'm definitely going to have to come up and catch some videos of that, and hopefully get a ride. Maybe, Jason, when you get yours, Jason, you're going to be giving rides to everybody. But the good thing is they can launch and launch and launch and launch and still have their power. So that'll be great. Yeah, I saw somebody post that on Twitter. The just drag strip mode to keep it just under the limit. So or just like you said, just over the limit. So it's people can keep doing it and just stay right on that edge. That'd be pretty great. Um, yeah, that's going to be so cool. I think that even the Ravens are so cool, and like the technology and stuff is just so amazing, and the advancements. That was another thing on the trip. The difference road tripping in the 2015 Model S and the 2021 Model Y is, you know, I still have that Model S mentality of charge every chance you get and always, overcharge. And sometimes we needed to. There were times when the wind was really bad. We did have a lot of weight in the car, because we were packed for so many days. And part of the time we had, 3 adults and my daughter in her car seat and all this stuff and a cooler full of snacks and, beverages and all that stuff. So, the car was pretty loaded down, and so there were a couple stretches where we needed to charge, pretty significantly, but I don't think there may have been 1 or 2 times the whole trip I went under 10%. And that's again in retrospect, like it was good, safe planning for having a child in the car and the long days we were having. But I probably would have backed that off a little bit on a future trip, because the car planning was a little over optimistic, because we could, it would say you're going to get there with 20%. We get on the highway, you're going to get there in 18%. We get further down, halfway there, and we're at, you're going to get there at 10%. Just coming down and down and down from the built-in Tesla estimate. So I did have a better route planner on my phone, and so the other long stretches, like the stretch from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, to Rock Springs, Wyoming was a long stretch, and then the stretch from Rock Springs, like I said, to Craig, Colorado, was also a really long stretch. And I wasn't sure on each of those what the terrain was going to be like. And so those were pretty full charges, and I think we still got to Craig with about 15%. Because I did check on a better route planner what they suggested charging to, and then I went to that or even a little above that, just to have that peace of mind. Especially after the tires, it was like, I don't want too many more surprises. Like, it's good video fodder, but it makes for a stressful vacation. I appreciate that. I would love to have the first shot at reviewing it and vlogging it. Getting above 1,000 would be great, because I still see. I still, like, sometimes when I watch my own videos, I have to sit through the ad, and I'm thinking, I'm sitting through an ad for my own content that I'm not getting paid for, and it's a little frustrating, but that's neither here nor there. But I would love to at least be making a couple pennies every month off of that kind of thing. But yeah, I can't wait to get a look at that car and see the difference, and especially while my Model S is still fresh in my mind this year, of seeing the huge strides to the Plaid. So I was comparing my Model Y performance with a Nissan Leaf at a park. Just yeah, at one of the parks I was at, I think it was Steamboat Springs, someone was talking about the Cybertruck event and telling his buddies about it, as I'm like loading the car and changing a diaper, and I can just kind of hear it out of the back, the side of my head, and it's like, he wasn't really wrong about it, but, it was all about like, and then they shattered the glass, and, it wasn't really negative, but it was like, I'm just not going to engage. I'm going to, just kind of politely give the wave, like, if you want to say something, great, but we're going to go on this trail right now, and you guys have a great day. Yeah, some people you just gotta like, all right, you just think what you want to think. Not that there's anything wrong with a Leaf for, the use it has. Did not make it to Devil's Tower on this trip. We were hoping to do that when we went out to. Hi, by the way, Brooks. We meant to do that when we went out to South Dakota for the Sound of Silence rally. I love Devil's Tower. It's such a cool spot. But on this trip, it was. We would have had to do some. A little bit crazier route to get up there. And I've never gone, at least in the Tesla, I've never gone across Nebraska, so I kind of wanted to see what that charging path was, and we were actually able to skip a couple chargers and kind of leapfrog, so that was cool, and that's the beauty of having more superchargers coming out, is that depending on where you're starting from, you might not want to stop early to get to, the next one really far away. But if you can kind of make your long distances to the next one you need, and then, skip one and make it your next long distances, that makes the traveling much more like a internal combustion trip where you're going till you need to fill up with gas and then you stop. So definitely want to get back out to Devil's Tower though. That's a fantastic place. Maybe I'll just carve it out of mashed potatoes. How much for the windshield? I don't know yet. I haven't had the gumption to look it up. I got to look at our insurance policy. I think we have glass coverage, but I feel like there was a thread in the Minnesota Tesla owner group. I want to say a month or two ago, but it may have been 6 months ago now. But I feel like there was a thread about that, about having Tesla do the replacement, because I want the cameras all to be mounted right, back, and I want it done correctly. And really, I'd kind of like to get it to a service station after that trip, with how much gravel and washboard and just kind of the beating the vehicle took. I don't think it would be terrible to have some professional Tesla eyes on it to just say, oh, hey, that thing's not right. Just give it kind of a once over. So we'll see. That was on my list of things to do today. I chose to mow the lawn instead. So I'm putting it off because I'm afraid of what that bill's going to be if we don't have coverage. But the second crack is definitely extending. It was a rock chip right at the top of the windshield, and I thought it actually hit the roof, and I was going to be devastated that I'd have to have that replaced, but and the windshield, because we already have this other big split in the windshield, or this other big crack that we had patched. But I was really concerned about that, but it was the windshield, because then it did start splitting down. So it's not great. It needs to get taken care of. I'm just putting it off because I'm a procrastinator. Well, thanks, Jason. It's important. It means something. It's $853 plus fees for Model 3. Okay. Probably a bit more for Wise. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you have... I forgot. Todd ruined your windshield. Did you have glass coverage in your insurance? If I leave it 100% and drive to Duluth nonstop, I would have 20% left in my battery. Okay. Yeah, I've been meaning to do the straight shot up to Duluth from Burnsville and see how much I have left. I want to do some range tests and stuff like that now that the weather's good. I've been meaning to do that, but now it's like, how much do I want to drive with that, windshield getting worse until I get that taken care of. Just need to get the reimbursement check since Tesla won't pay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to say. Sorry. I know that's a thrilling live stream, Brian. You sitting there reading comments. That's choice stuff there. solid 3 hours from Burnsville. Yeah. I know we did some stretches that long. And we're supposed to get 326 miles, obviously, in best case scenario, with good weather and, reasonable speeds. And the drive up to Duluth is not always reasonable speeds. I used to make that trip quite a bit, and it can go quick. But again, if I have my daughter with me, then I got to be a little more reasonable on that kind of thing. You don't think I could do it from Burnsville up to Duluth? I think I could. I almost did it in the Model S. I chickened out. And that only had I think it was rated for 265 miles. So, plus it's slow driving through the cities, so that doesn't burn up too much juice. And if they're still doing construction on, which they always seem to be on 35, then that'd be another slow section as well. Although, John, that kind of seems like a challenge, like I need to try it. Maybe I'll wait till Black Bear's online, so if I can't make it, I've got to bail out at Black Bear. $168 miles to Duluth? That's easy. I can do that. I don't have performance. I just got the all-wheel drive. Thanks for believing in me, Brooks. That's the kind of support I need. Made it from my house in Glenwood to Duluth. Voice bolts. You have no excuse. I do have PPF on the front, although now it's coated in a nice shell of bug guts that I got to work off. Got to Moose Lake with 50 miles left, so alright, great. Yeah, I think I can do it. We'll have to give that a shot. But half the car PPF on the front. Yeah, that's a good choice. I would get if you don't have the stuff in front of the back wheels, kind of where it flares out a little bit, I would get that covered too. I think that's the Tesla PPF kit that they sell. Yeah, the paint protection film was not cheap, and if I wasn't planning on keeping the car for like 10 years, I don't think I would have done it. Because I think doing the whole car was about $5, and if it keeps the rust out, it'll be worth it, especially with all the rock chips I'm sure I would have had and dings after this trip. It's probably worth it in the long run, but it was, after just buying a car to then sink another $5,000 into it, was painful. I did budget for it, but it was a tough pill to swallow, because this was the first new car we've bought, and my wife and I, until we bought the Prius, we pretty much would buy whatever the cheapest beater we could, within reason. My brother-in-law is an auto broker, and so has a pretty good eye and pretty good feel for what's out there, and has been able to, because we pretty much drive everything until it died. And then when we needed something, call him up and say, hey, I need something quick. Can you get me something that's going to be reliable for a few years? And, he was pretty good about finding that stuff. And so, but, as we've gotten older, then, when we got the Prius, it was used, but, it's got over 215,000 miles on it. And so it, runs forever, and that's getting pretty rusty. But that kind of got us off the train of buying the next wreck and driving that until it died. But we do want to keep these, as long as we can. So we'll see. Well, that's the problem with Toby's being right there. I uh, yeah. Uh, when I've probably told this story before, but my great grandparents lived in Grand Marais, so I've been going up there since I was an infant. And so every summer, my grandparents eventually bought my great grandparents' house. They moved into town, and so the family had my grandparents had a house up on the Gunflint Trail. My uncle still owns it and lives there now. And so, like, we would go up there multiple times in a summer, and that was always kind of the stop. We'd leave at like 5 in the morning because my grandpa wanted to get on the road and beat traffic. And, we'd go through the cities and, like, ooh, driving through the big city. And then Toby's was kind of the point where we're like, okay, we're all pretty much awake. It's breakfast time, and we go and just murder cinnamon rolls in there. And at that point, the trees are starting to change, and then you start getting anticipation for Duluth and all the cool overpasses and bridges there, and your first sight of the lake. And we'd stop at McDonald's in Duluth, on the north end of Duluth, or the northeast end of Duluth, right on the shore there where you can look out over the lake. And that would be lunch. And then, plow up to Grand Marais. And my great aunt lives in Two Harbors. And so we would stop there, see them, and then go on up to Grand Marais, and then we'd spend a few days up there, either with my grandparents or my parents would come too, or we'd take a few vehicles. But been doing that since, like I said, since I was an infant, and just love that trip. And yeah, Toby's is always so cool. That was the first time before we owned a Tesla. One of our trips up there, I saw the Tesla chargers at Toby's. I was like, oh, cool, what are these? It's so intriguing. And I wanted to kind of pull one off the handle. Like, now I know I could have just walked up and gone, oh, what's this? But at the time, it was like, oh, don't touch it. There's probably an alarm or something goes, these are Teslas. These are, so expensive, so, out of my reach. And actually, probably at the time they were, because all it would have been was the Model S. But that was my first, like, oh, there are charging stations. Like, you can plug, that's right here at Toby's. And we had stopped to get cinnamon rolls and maybe gas. I don't know. But, that's my long story about going to Grand Marais and pigging out at Toby's. Oh, Svenanoli's, yeah. Svenanoli's is the best. Would Superior get a supercharger? I'm assuming you mean Superior, Wisconsin. I would doubt it. I would think they would go for a bigger one more off the main line in Duluth. Or maybe that's what they're thinking with Black Bear. The Duluth one is kind of a bear to get in and out of. So I wonder if they're thinking, put one at Black Bear, it's close enough to Duluth, and then they don't have to find one in the city or find space for one in the city that would work. And then maybe they would add one in like Two Harbors or something. Obviously, selfishly, I'd like Grand Marais, but Two Harbors would be fine too. I'm not. Am I thinking of Two Harbors? I might be thinking of the wrong city, but because Two Harbors is that where they run the Grandma's Marathon from Two Harbors to Duluth? In that case, that's not far enough away. Would need to be further up. But I'm blanking on my northern Minnesota coast cities. So I would doubt Superior just because for most people going that direction from the Twin Cities, they would have to go cross the bridge and then come back. Oh man, I'm so jealous, Brooks. You got to eat Toby's last week. I was thinking we wouldn't go anywhere for the 4th of July, but it might be worth running up just to get Toby's. Went to St. Cloud last week and thought there was a supercharger. A cold spring. A cold spring and a cold spray. Oh, cold spring. Yeah, the one in St. Cloud is really not St. Cloud. It's oh boy, not Baxter. Clearwater. Yeah, so it's not the most convenient for St. Cloud. I've heard of Gordy's Hi-Hat, but I've never been there. Is that in Ely or on the way to Ely? Lutzen's got some destination chargers and that you can use if you're staying at their resort or if you're eating at the restaurant. That'd probably be a good spot for superchargers, but with so many of those cities, though, it's like, is there enough space, before the cliffs or, like where the town isn't already? Can they clear enough space to put in superchargers? Oh, Black Bear contacted Tesla. Yeah, it's still a good idea. It's a good choice, or it's a good way to get people in for them too. $750,000 to put in fast chargers. Yeah, it's wildly expensive if you got to put in transformers and a whole new infrastructure and everything. It's Gordy's Hi-Hat is in Cloquet. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I've been there, but sounds like it's worth checking out. My dad is Gordy, but I don't think that's the same Gordy. Gordy owns the Hi-Hat. Okay. Wow, it's 10:45 already. Yeah, North Shore is. I'd actually like. I don't know if it would make sense for Bemidji and Ely to have a supercharger. I wish I had. I used to have a big map in my office, and it'd be a lot easier if I could just look right over there. Um, but yeah, it would be nice to have something. I think Bemidji would be a good north central spot. So could you get from Duluth to Bemidji when that supercharger is in over to Grand Forks? Or is that too big a runs, do you think? I'm trying to feel like the stretch between like a Duluth and Bemidji might be too far, at least in the winter. Well, I think, how does they make any money? Well, I think Tesla bakes some of the price of the car into the supercharger network, or some of the revenue of the vehicles goes into, hey, we know this vehicle is going to be using this, so I would guess a portion of each vehicle's sales goes to expanding the network. So we're probably not paying for it in the use of the electricity each time, but we're probably paying for it when we buy the vehicle, I would guess. And I think that's why the original Model S had free supercharging for life, because you kind of already paid for your share of the network when those vehicles were so expensive. Yeah, I haven't been to a Ely yet with an EV yet. Grand Rapids. Okay. Trying 45 miles an hour. Yeah, that was real pleasant. And the people in the country of North Dakota, living in the countryside of North Dakota, loved passing me at that speed. Uh, Grand Rapids might be better. Yeah, Ely. Uh, I don't know. Has anybody heard anything about Electrify America expanding more in Minnesota? That's my big feel. I think it's great that the Mach-E seems like a cool car. We actually had this is a good story from the trip. Um, I was talking to at the destination, or the charge point station at Kalispell at our hotel, hosted by the hotel. Really nice. Just two plugs, but level 2 and easy to charge overnight. There was a Taycan Turbo S owner, and really nice guy. He and his son were up from Colorado and just shredding around. They actually passed us like 2 days later driving south, and they were flying. Like, you could tell this guy got his Taycan to drive his Taycan, which is great. But he said he left out of Colorado, and in order to get to Glacier, he had to drive south to Utah and then over, I think, through Idaho. Or he basically had to go south and west to drive north. because there weren't Electrify America stations where he needed them to get up to Glacier. And so he was asking me, which way did we come? And I said, well, we came across North Dakota. They put superchargers there, and I think he'd only had the Taycan for a few months. And so, he was kind of new. He was asking some EV questions. But, because we were trying to decide, like, the hotel doesn't seem to even know that these chargers exist. So how do we let each other know, and the other drivers who seem to be wanting to use these chargers, when we're going to be off? And so I have one here. I have just little business cards with like my YouTube channel and stuff on it. And so I was writing and just duct taping, on the side of the charger, where it was kind of obvious that, I'll be done at this time. Call me if you're in an emergency, or when both chargers were full when we first got there, I just put a note on that. Please call me when you're done. Here's my number. But we were talking about Electrify America and how he had to do this challenging route, adding time to his trip to get up there. And so he was asking about how is Electrify America in Minnesota, and I said, I think we only have one station, and like you can't get through North Dakota. I don't think you can even get through South Dakota on Electrify America yet. So I know they need to expand, but I have no idea what their plans are. You have unlimited charging for $43 a month. Yeah. I really want you to open up shop Sauk Center or Alexandria. Yeah, Alexandria is a great spot. Like what they have now there with the charge points and the superchargers. It's a great location. There's lots to eat around there. The Target's really handy. I don't know, like with the power infrastructure they added, if they could also add Electrify America in on that run, or if that would be a permitting or companies fighting challenge, because then who would use the charge points? I guess ChargePoint probably wouldn't like that, because unless you just needed a slower charge, you would just use the Electrify America. Yeah, meet up for breakfast would be good. Maybe at Toby's. $135. Wow, that's quick. I have not I've floored the Model Y, but usually up to like 80 or 90. We did pass a couple semis on back roads, on some of the open plain roads of Wyoming, where we had to pass people. We put it down pretty good, but didn't get up to 135. Am I talking about Kyle Connor? Well, it wasn't him I was talking to. It was another guy, just another EV owner, Taycan owner, was who I was talking about. They got their new Kyle from Out of Spec got their new Mercedes monster off-roading thing that they've got like solar panels on and all that stuff, and One of those was parked at our hotel, and I'm like, oh wow, that'd be crazy if that was him here. I know Brandon knows him, but I've never met him in person. We've had some online conversations, but that's it. But I thought it would be really funny if he was staying at the hotel, and I just actually saw a video earlier today of Brian from I1 Tesla was up in Glacier in some of the same areas we were, and that was kind of cool. Apparently his wife is really sick. Karen is getting some tests and stuff done, so that's a bummer. I hope she's going to be all right and they get that sorted out. A lot of people in the Tesla world having a lot of struggles lately between Trevor and Brian and Karen and JB Straubel's wife getting tragically hit by a car. Well, it sounds like she was on a bike. Just tragic stuff. I don't want to bring that up, but just acknowledge it that it's really awful, and I hope all of them are doing as best they can in those challenging situations. Sorry, didn't mean to derail there. That's just I've been seeing those things come through, and it's just like, wow. Life is short and precious. Yeah, and electrified a. Yeah, the 110 outlets from Quick Trip. I did hear somebody was asking about that, and I think someone responded from Quick Trip saying those really are. They aren't meant to be an insult, although they seem like it. They're more for use for their employees. So if your employee has a EV and is going to be working their 8-hour shift or whatever, they would use that to plug in and at least get a trickle charge while they're at work. So although there are signs saying EV charging, I think it's more internal than really supposed to be a great asset to travelers. They just built a huge Quick Trip down the road from me, and I haven't been in there, but I kind of cruised around the parking lot once looking to see if they had one of those there because I wanted a good picture of it, but didn't see that they had one. You wanna? I don't know how late I'm streaming. I meant to be done by now, but I haven't yet. Jason, good to see you. Have a great night. Thanks for joining in. My thoughts on Browning, Montana. I thought it was fine. I don't know if we saw the pack of dogs, but there were definitely a lot of dogs around, and my wife needed to stop at a gas station as we were headed out of town, and like these dogs were like right almost under the car where I couldn't quite see them, and I'm like, am I going to hit that dog? Am I going to hit? It seemed like a just random city dog, so must have been that. But yeah, it was interesting. I mean, the people were really friendly. It's one of those places, and I know Browning's on. I think on the reservation. I'm 99% sure it's on the reservation. But between that and some of the other small towns we were in and back roads, this country is screaming for infrastructure investment. And I know my hometown is finally starting to do something about their roads, at least the main ones. And I saw some other, quite a few other construction projects, but just driving down like city streets, like people have to drive down these every day, and there's, you know, terrible pitted, potholes full of gravel, and just every road in town is like that in some of these places. Browning actually wasn't nearly the worst place where we drove, but yeah, it just really drives home. Like, I would not. Like, I get frustrated when we have a lot of construction in Minnesota, and there are plenty of places here that need a lot of work. But some of the places we were in Montana and Wyoming, it's like nobody's touched these roads since the 80s. And, one winter comes and more holes are created, or more, uh, you know, problems are created, and no one does anything about it. So I'm hoping, if this big infrastructure package goes through, um, it's not just. I mean, obviously, we need, the bridges and the interstates and all that stuff need attention. But I hope money from that really filters down to the local levels, and then local officials actually take care of the residential areas of those towns. Because I know in one of the towns we were in, Shelby, Montana, it's a big rail port. Stuff comes down from Canada, stuff, crossing the country. And the main road down by the railroad tracks, and where all the business stuff is happening, is getting repaved. And it's going to be beautiful. But you drive 2 blocks off of that, and you may as well be off-roading. So I don't know if that's, businesses get first dibs, or if that's the maybe that's part of the state highway system rather than the local excuse me local road system. I'm not sure, but it just kind of felt like, classic small town. Oh, a business needs this? Well, let's pave it. People in their town need this? Well, we can't afford that. So, I'm hoping that something big passes, and communities can really see a good benefit of that. It makes the quality of life for all of us a lot better. My 2 cents, without getting into the politics of it. Whoa, Shatner just turned 90. Crazy. He doesn't seem that old, but I guess he would be. Would I make the trip again? If I knew I wouldn't have tire issues, yes. Because I said this, I think, before you were on, but because of the tire issues, because of my brother losing his phone, because of having to fix a rock chip, some of the relaxation time I had built into the trip was eaten up with dealing with those things. And if I would have known we would have had that kind of stuff, I would have made a shorter distance trip and spent more time in each place. If we didn't have those hiccups, then I would probably do the same trip again and just enjoy more of it. But because of those things, a lot of time was compressed, and we just gotta make it through the day, and let's get to our hotel and then figure out tomorrow, and then make it to our hotel and figure out tomorrow. There's also a place in Nebraska where I forgot which charger we were going to. I was saying how we skipped some. One of the ones we skipped was one I had meant to go to because it had like a river walk, park and stuff down by I think it's the Platte River. And so it was like, well, we're going to charge, but I'm going to take my daughter to this place. We're going to splash around. It's going to be fun. And we got to the next charger, and I realized, oh, this is the wrong one. We did find a park in town, but it was a little lame and not not exactly what I was hoping for. But it's funny how like all these little towns have like little treasures in them. We The town we stopped at, we didn't stop at this park. We went to another one, but the town we stopped in was I can't think of the name of it, but it has an old Pony Express, like I don't know if it was stable or office or what it was, but and like we drove past it, and it's this super old wooden building. The wood is just gray as can be, and it's from the original Pony Express days, preserved in this park. And it's like, oh, these little towns, every little town's kind of got their unique little treasures and things. So that kind of stuff is cool to discover. And like I said, with the detours we had to take, we got to see some really cool stuff. Some different animals, lots of pronghorn, antelope. Saw a coyote, or my brother. I didn't see it. My brother saw it. Coyote running along next to the road. So we got to really crisscross the mountains of Montana and get a good experience out of it. So it was exhausting though. We all got home and unloaded the car and just crashed. So exhausting. Yeah, I've just got the 19-inch stock wheels on mine. When am I running for office? Yeah. No thanks. I've thought about it, and then I've thought, I don't think that's for me. When are you running for office, Brooks? Yeah, that's the question. Will EA expand if they get more grant money? Or if there's a state, is it Ohio that's, I think it's Ohio that's approved, at least at their state, in the state courts, that they can charge VW for more Dieselgate money, like as an individual state. And I think that's going to go to the Supreme Court, because they're going to appeal it, try to get the Supreme Court to overturn that decision, because if that sets a precedent for all the other states to then also sue VW for more Dieselgate money, that could be super expensive, which, I mean, then don't do Dieselgate. How about that? But I would guess if they're penalized on a state-by-state level, then that money would also probably go into the Electrify America, build-outs in those states. So we'll have to see what happens with that. How did he lose the phone? It just fell out of his pocket. He had it in cargo pants and had it in a pocket, and it slipped out. And we didn't realize it till later. We carried a tire patch kit with us, and so, or a tire plug kit. So compressor and the tire plug kit. I think he got them both at Napa. and they worked pretty well. Any bad spots for coverage in the Tesla? There were a few times where our map would stay active as far as like you're on this road, but the landscape would all just be a grid. So it like knew we were on the right path and it went through this blank spot, but there were quite a few places, especially around Glacier and some sections of the wild, like open plains of Wyoming, where there just isn't anything but ranches, where we were driving for quite a while. And so some of those would just not have any real coverage in the car. Ever visited Butte's Toxic Copper Pit? It's a quick pit stop. I haven't. Is it right in town? We may have seen it. If it's like big and right off the interstate, we may have seen it. Is the "it's a quick pit stop" a pun? Because if it is, that's delicious. Very nice. Oh, Tim, hi. Good to see you too. Luckily, I had no tire issues on my trips, but I'm considering the modern spare for future trips. Yeah, the modern spare I think it's like a little smaller, a little thinner or something. Um, yeah, in and around Glacier there were yeah spots. Um, Tim, how did the rest of your trip go? Um, exactly. Yeah, the like I said, the tire issues were our main thing. The rock chips, that kind of stuff can just happen. Um, the really thing that drove me crazy was the first really big one was I was behind a semi and you can kind of feel like it's kicking stuff back at me. So I'm like, I'm going to back off. I'm going to be smart and not get a big road trip or a rock chip. So backed off to the follow distance to like 4 or 5. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm probably out of the danger zone here. Just feeling pretty good about ourselves. We just got new tires in Jamestown, and feeling pretty good about that. And then crack! Like, no! We were just back on track. But the Tesla North Dakota owners, I can't say enough. I mean, the Minnesota Tesla owners are great too. And I'm sure they all are all over the country, but internationally, hey, let me pander to everybody. But the North Dakota owners were so helpful and so, willing to help, add add some air to our tires if we needed it. Recommended a place to fix the rock chip. I want to say it was Friday morning. Friday morning? Yeah, Friday morning we toured the Dinosaur Museum with Destiny. And Brian Kopp had also offered to help us, get the rock chip thing sorted out with a local in Dickinson company. And but the next morning we were with Destiny. She was giving us the tour, and we were talking about the level 2 charger they have installed in their parking lot. And so we ended up talking, like I showed her the rock chip, and I'm like, oh yeah, want to get that taken care of. And she's like, oh, well, here's the place you want to take it. And then we're talking for a few minutes, and that was great. I knew where to take it. And she's like, you know what? I'm just going to call him right now because she had their number. And so she actually called and said, hey, we got a guy who's traveling through. Can you fit him in today? He'll be there in about a half an hour. And so I showed up. They knew exactly who I was, what needed to be done. Not that it was rocket science, that's the kind of thing they do every day, but, just taking those extra steps of you're in North Dakota, we're going to take care of you, just adds such a huge peace of mind to a trip like that. And actually Destiny was like, oh, I wish I would have known I had a spare in my car. I could have given you. I'm like, that's, again, crazy over the top helpful, but really appreciated. Minor spare is a donut and a jack kit. Okay. Yeah, there are so many beautiful areas to see out there. The one thing I was talking a little earlier about how the by the time we got home, it was like, oh man, I'm ready to be home. The one thing about spending so much time in completely different landscapes where we were either in deep mountains or high plains with like scrub brush or fields most of the trip. And, I was loving it. Even the like the high plains where it's just, almost flat. There's enough rises and stuff where you can see, there's some big weather systems we just missed for the most part. So we got really lucky with weather. But as these plains stretch out around you, you can see the patterns of the clouds, and you can see that on the mountainsides too. But the sun shining through the clouds, and you can just see the shapes of the clouds as they cross the fields and stuff is just so fascinating to me. And obviously all the different mountain views from the really sharp peaks up in Glacier and Grand Teton and all of that, to some more of the subdued kind of hillsidey mountains that we saw in Colorado, and then obviously Rocky Mountain National Park is pretty substantial too. But that was all fantastic. But after spending so much time there, then to come back through Nebraska, you're kind of like easing back into what's normal for us. But then I had so much appreciation coming through southern Minnesota back into southern Minnesota, south of the Twin Cities. And it just made me appreciate all the trees and the rivers and lakes and kind of the rolling hillsides and stuff that we have here. And it's just different, and it does really give you that extra amount of appreciation for where you live. So it was really good to go and really good to get back. And now at some point I need to start editing all this footage because I've been talking a lot about the trip, but I'm sure when I get back in and see things, I'm going to go, oh, I completely forgot about that, or I completely forgot about this. So a couple cool things. I've been going on way too long. This is like 2 hours here. But yeah, the Jets in Owatonna. So, while we were at the Dinosaur Museum, we got to see some of the new fossils they're working on, which is super, super cool. And I am not going to remember the name of the dinosaur. It is a It's a Tyrannosaur, but not the Rex. I think it starts with an A. Again, I'm gonna have to look back at my footage, but Destiny gave Joan a tooth. This is a plaster cast of the actual thing, but it's like taken from the real fossil. This is a plaster cast of a tooth, and then from the same animal, one of the claws. And it is just so cool. Um, so those don't get destroyed, I've kept them wrapped up, and will keep them wrapped up. Um, but I'm gonna put them in like a little box, like a display box or something, so that they can't be played with or get wet or anything. Um, and probably like put something cool in there about the dinosaur or something. So very cool little present as part of our tour for Joan, and just with the franticness of things don't go right, and as if you're the dad who planned the trip, you kind of feel that pressure of like, we gotta go, we gotta get moving and get we gotta make our days and get to our spots and everything. There were great moments like that of just being able to relax and enjoy being in those places with family. It was great to have my brother along, to obviously help with my daughter, help with the driving, but just to hang out and do some of the old school road trip stuff we used to do when we were in our 20s, and just enjoy being out in the world. I'm sure he would have loved to do it more camping style, but with COVID ending, that's everything is booked up. The last two hotels we stayed in Fort Collins and Sioux City, they were saying like the whole city is booked up for like, and another place was, I heard the receptionist on the phone saying they're booked up till after 4th of July. And that hotel was pretty much a dump. So like if that place is being, we didn't know it necessarily when we booked it. Like I didn't think it was going to be the Ritz or something, but it was not great. More of that in the videos to come, but like just everything's booked. Everyone's traveling. So I think for the 4th, like I said earlier, I think we're pretty much going to sit at home and just enjoy being here for a change of pace. Allosaurus? An Allosaurus? That joke hurt. That was fantastic. Yeah, it could be an Allosaurus. I'm not sure. It definitely could have been. Like I said, I took so much footage in so many different places. I want to do a feature on just, like I said, the dinosaur museum, the update with the Well Done Foundation that I was able to do. I still need to do a Zoom call with Curtis on that. And then the stuff from the road. So a lot of video content to go through. It'll probably take a month or so to get through all of it. But a great trip. And I just wanted to jump on here tonight to like kind of talk through some of it, some of the stuff that won't be in the video or in the videos, but just kind of funny stuff from the road. So Allosaurus, I think that's as good a place as any to leave it. it's been about 2 hours, so plenty of me talking. But thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it. Good to be back live again and talking about what's going on, even if some of that stuff isn't so positive. But hopefully, Q2 just ended. Delivery numbers should be out by next week. I think I probably will do Wednesday night again next week and just see how that goes. And then that kind of breaks up my week where I'm doing something on Wednesday, then releasing a longer video on Sunday. So that's the plan. Don't know anything about windshield wipers yet, but that's something we can look into. But you guys all have a great night. Again, thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate the comments and the conversations and the terrible, terrible jokes. But thank you again. Have a great night. And now we come to the awkward part where I have to grab the mouse again and click on to the end scene. All right. Have a great night. Thanks a lot. Bye. And it didn't go. Wonderful. Production value. I hope everybody saw my post about the cracker box holding up my camera as a tripod on the road. It's going to be in the bonus features. All right. I'll see you again.